Wonderful. And let me put on speaker view. And I will pass it over to the wonderful Mariela. Thank you so much, Mariela, for leading us in our sit today.
Thank you, Brian. And again, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. If you like to find a position that is comfortable, that is relaxed, that is alert, as most of you already did, if you want to keep your or turn your camera off, allow yourself to do that, keep it on, whatever makes you feel comfortable and safe. If you want to close your eyes or simply lowering the gaze. And we are going to be practicing for about 20 minutes. So for practice, we want to find a position that is alert. But if you need to lay down today, allow yourself to do that. And I'll bring the bell at the beginning and at the end of practice. And you may want to start by taking a couple of deeper breaths as you bring all of your attention to this moment, to the breath, feeling the air coming into the nostrils, noticing where the air goes. Taking one more deep inhale. And a deep exhale. Bringing all of your attention to the here and now. And taking a moment to orient yourself in the space you're in. And if your eyes are closed, you can do that by bringing all of your attention to sounds around you, to what you hear. Noticing the different sounds around you, those that are close and those that are farther away. Notice the smells around you. Feeling the temperature of the space you're in. Bring your attention to noticing sensations in the body. Notice the different points of contact of the body with the chair, the cushion, the sofa, whatever object you are sitting or laying down on. Notice sensations in the back, Sensations in the buttocks, the seat bones area. Sensations in the legs. Feel the sensations in the feet. Feeling the contact of the feet with the ground. If you are sitting down, and taking a moment also to acknowledge the earth underneath the feet or underneath that object that is holding you. Taking a moment to acknowledge the earth holding you, holding us all in different parts of the earth, this planet. Feeling, acknowledging the solidity, the generosity of earth, holding us all. Now move your awareness to feeling the whole entire body all at once, from head to toes, the body just being right where it's at. And for the next few moments, just be here, resting in the awareness of being here, nowhere to go, nothing to do, just being here. Notice, but not as a mental activity, but more so as a felt sense, feel. What does it feel like to be human right now? What does it feel like to inhabit this body right now? Bringing a sense of curiosity and an attention that is kind and that is non-judgmental. So to the best of your abilities, choose being here without wishing that this moment is any different. Knowing and remembering that whatever is present in this moment, it's all welcome. It's allowed to be here. It's allowed to move through the body. Phenomenon arises and passes by. Breath is another thing that you can acknowledge in this moment. The in breath coming in and the out breath happening. I invite you now to bring all of your attention to the breath without needing to control it, to change it. Just feel the body breathing. Notice how it happens by itself. The body knows how to breathe. You are just here feeling the body breathing. And it's very common and very naturally the mind will wander, will get carried away from the anchor with a story, with an image, with sound if that's not the anchor, and that's totally okay. That's what the mind does. So the invitation is to notice when the mind drifts away and just bring it back with gentleness, with kindness. Back to resting and simply being aware of this moment, of this breath. And see if you can really drop the attention to the felt sense, not think about the breath, but really feel it. This practice will cultivate in a space within ourselves of safety to allow ourselves to feel the breath, to feel what's present right now. Feeling the inhale. Maybe notice if there is space in between the inhale and the exhale. And feeling the aliveness of this moment with each breath. And as the body continues to breathe, moving your attention once again to noticing and feeling the whole entire body, feeling different sensations happening in the body. You may notice sensations that are pleasant. There's some that are unpleasant, and there's others that are neither pleasant nor unpleasant. They're more neutral. And whatever you notice, see if you can incline the mind towards not liking or disliking what you notice. If you notice attachment to some sensations, to some thoughts that are happening, or resistance to others, see if you can notice that, not judge it, but incline the mind just a little bit more towards acceptance, towards letting that experience arise and to pass by. If you can continue just feeling this moment, allowing the different sensations, the thoughts, the emotions that arise, just to be here. They are all welcome in this space. There's nothing wrong with any of them. Each moment keeps changing. It's impermanent. And every moment is a fresh new moment. Every moment is an opportunity to begin again. And cultivating this awareness that is loving, that is kind, that is accepting. I invite you now to bring your attention to the heart space, and if you wish, you can put one or two hands in the space around the heart. Maybe feeling the heart beating, feeling the aliveness of this moment. Notice if the heart feels open or closed, maybe somewhere in between. I'm going to invite you to intentionally open the heart just a little more, whatever that means to you. Only up to where you feel safe and feeling what's here. And as your attention is in the heart space, I invite you to Ask yourself, what do I need to hear right now that will feel supportive? That will feel supportive in this moment. What is something that I would like to hear that will offer support in this moment? And notice what arises. It may be a word, a phrase, a couple of phrases. And I invite you to offer that to yourself, whatever that is. You saying that to yourself, offering support to yourself in this way. Or if it's hard, you can imagine someone, loved one, saying that to you. But if you can, offer that word to yourself. Notice how that feels to receive support in this way. That inside yourself is a loving human that offers love and support to others, but also can offer love and support to yourself. Feel support. Feel the kind of compassion that it's available within you the moment you decide to access it. Maybe taking one deep inhale. That's a way of supporting yourself right now. As we come close to the end of this practice, I'd like to invite you to end with bringing attention to gratitude and find something that you can be grateful for in this moment. Maybe a part of the body, a person, an object, an event, a situation, wherever that is. And notice how gratitude is experiencing the body, allowing yourself to experience gratitude. Getting familiar with that feeling of gratitude. And also take a moment and find gratitude for yourself for having made the time to be here and to be with you in this way. For having gifted this time to you when you could have been doing something completely different. You chose to be here and to sit with yourself. In a world that is full of distractions, to be with oneself in this way can even be a heroic act. I invite you to honor that. And to remember that you have that capacity within you. And after I ring the bell, I invite you to make the rest of your day, the rest of this time together, a continuation of your practice, so your practice doesn't stop here. Your practice continues after You open your eyes, your practice continues. This quality of awareness while you're talking, while you're moving, while you're doing the rest of your activities. Continue being kind, and attention that is curious and that is non-judgmental. Thank you all for your practice, for being here, for practicing together. At the end of the practice, I said it feels like a heroic act, and I genuinely mean it. It's so much easier not to sit with ourselves. It's so much easier to not feel, to distract ourselves with other things. And it's such a heroic act to be with our own feelings, to be with our own suffering, with our deep suffering. So, I bow to you all for being here and for practicing together. So now it's Brian and I's turn to continue talking. Hopefully about something that is of support to your practice, to your day, to your life, hopefully. So start us off, Brian.
I know. Well, something I struggled with for the past almost 4 years, and I'm probably going to struggle with it for the next 4 years, Mariela, is I really want every Hope group to help everybody. Sometimes I think like if people aren't helped, then I've done that it hasn't been. But then I remember, and so many shares this morning was it's the trying to make things better. It's the trying to fix it. It's not good enough yet. I had one of my mentors, she emailed me last night because I have a workshop tomorrow, and she said, Brian, just remember that all you need to do is be adequate. Just adequate. And at first I said, no, I can't be adequate. It needs to be, but it's just so nice to be in a space like this and with you and with all of us where it's it feels safe. I don't need to be perfect. I don't need to have the perfect thing to say. The it's just good enough. Adequacy, just showing up. And I love your meditation because it's just showing up. And it's okay that we get lost sometimes, you know? And it's the sh coming back. And I know resiliency and new chapters are one of the themes we're talking about today in this teaching. Um, but it's just so nice that to be in a space where I can set the bar doesn't have to be so high, you know? Um, oh, also, Maria, how long are we going to do our teaching today?
I was thinking because we're going up to 2 hours, so maybe we can do it like 20 minutes and have about
Beautiful.
minutes or so for community and reflections and have time for closing.
Marvelous.
So yeah, we're not gonna run out of time
We're
now.
not going to run out of time. We're not going to have to rush it. It's so
2 hours.
nice. It's so nice. Can I ask, can we start off by saying what was it like for you? It just made me feel so good earlier when talking about this is like a family here. And it's been 4 years and it's like, but I really feel like this too. It really feels like a found family of cousins and siblings and even some people for me, it's like aunts and uncles, people who are, I don't know, but I just maybe that's something to start with. I just thought that was just so, it just made me feel so good. Again, my nervous system just sort of relaxes when I hear that. Like this is a family get together. And doesn't mean it can't be intense or there can't be strong feelings. It's the kind of family where we're allowed to be angry. We're allowed to be afraid. We're allowed to be sad. We don't try to change each other. What's that been like for you? And what was it like for you to hear today?
Yeah, I think it's it's so we're talking about change and new beginnings, and I think in a way hearing that it it's it is beautiful because it's been a family that we have been cultivating all of us together, and how beautiful, not always in every family in our given families or the families that we were born into can we experience, can we go together to change in a way that we do it in this community. Can we embrace new beginnings or talk in the way that we speak in this family, right? We cannot always go to our own families and say, hey, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling suicidal, like some of you have mentioned. It feels pretty, um, I don't know, it feels great in the nervous system and in the mind and the heart to just be your full entire selves. And it's something that we cannot always do on our own, given families, the families that we're born into. So this is a family that we have all created where it's safe to show up as we are. And yeah, and I think it's very tied in a way to what we wanted to speak briefly on, which is change and new beginnings. And it's like you guys are walking with us in this new beginning, right? It's still on Zoom, but it's in this new phase of a new space, per se, in a new, it's outside of inside LA. So something changed, it's a new beginning, and we're all kind of embracing that. And sometimes it's what we wish, honestly, that we had in our own immediate families, that it's not always maybe possible. And so it's beautiful to have this family where we can do that. I don't know, that's what is coming to my heart right now.
Yeah, I love that. And because it's change. You know, now it's not 90 minutes, it's 2 hours. It's not every week, it's maybe once a month, and maybe we'll go to twice a month. It's, you know, every week it was a different group. So there's a change in the which family members are showing up and all these changes and you know, anger, fear, and sadness. And for me, the anger for me, I'm talking about me right now. When there's change, any change, you know, it was cold and now it's warm. It's warmer today. You know, it was 2023 and now it's 2024. You know, when you write 2023 and you forget, oh, no, it's 2023. It's hard, like change. It's hard. It's hard. I feel like when I was younger and I would get scared of change, people, if a parent, for example, I was really fortunate that I had a parent who, when I was scared of change, even if it was the lights are on and then the lights are off going to bed, it's really scary. And having a parent that wouldn't try to say to me, don't be afraid of the dark. You know, as somebody who said, yeah, I know it's scary. You know, would you like a nightlight? Would you like the door cracked open a little bit? But after I got to a certain age, I didn't feel like I was allowed to talk about how afraid I am and how scared I am of change sometimes. But there's still that young Brian that still fears change. And sometimes I'd rather hold on to the old, even if the old isn't great, you know, relationships that aren't great. But I want to hold on to that because the future, the unknown, who knows? So change is hard. I mean, for me, including the changing emotions, the emotional landscape, anger, fear, sadness. Earlier I mentioned, you know, when my anger, I'm scared that my anger is going to turn into sadness and tears. So I avoid it. Um, and you know, I'm grateful for practices like this and spaces like ours where we can ride those waves, whether it's grief waves, waves of anger, waves of confusion, feeling suicidal. I want to change, but I'm scared. I don't know what to do. Am I talking all over the place? Is this making sense? Now I feel like, oh, change. I'm not a good teacher anymore. It's changing. Am I I'm not good like I was last year. Change. Hey, sometimes I just want to say like I feel crazy sometimes. But then but there's the but, right? The second arrow, right? And it's nice to be in a space where I can feel crazy and not have people say, you're not crazy. No, I feel crazy sometimes.
Maybe maybe we are just a little crazy. And what's to say crazy? What is to say normal? It's funny. I wanted to make a reference to the title that we gave this time, which is Cultivating Resilience and Finding Light in the Depths of Change. And I wanted to maybe just speak a little bit on that from like the Dharma, from Buddhism perspective on change and new beginnings, how that's always happening. And that's perhaps what brought us on this group together, Brian, because we do experience deep suffering, right? We all have experienced our own deep suffering. I experienced my own suicidality. And I think it was Yuma to say that we experience suicidal thoughts, so then we are like not allowed to say it again that we're feeling. And it's like we can experience those, right? And just wanted to say that even I myself, I've experienced those things at times, and it's like, I wouldn't it be nice? It's I've taken out the stigma, and the Dharma has really impacted my life deeply, because I have been finding a different relationship to change, a different relationship to beginnings, and that through that we really cultivate resiliency. and and resilience is something that it's, I guess, a healthy thing to develop, to cultivate moving through life in a way. And I wanted to mention how we on the practice, going back to what I said, that's how we maybe started this group, is because we both know, and maybe most of you already have experienced that, are here for a reason, because we're practicing these, and realize how helpful this could be in allowing us to experience change. But we sometimes think of change of these like when bigger things happen. But the truth is that change is happening every moment. Like this moment is new. It's a new beginning, it's a fresh new moment. So if we think of it so literally, like we're changing all the time. And that's what the teachings of the Buddha teach us, right? Remind us of impermanence. It also, we, through the practice, we get to remember that, or to remember, it is a remembering, the change is part of life, but it might feel hard at times. It is, especially on those changes that are bigger. There might be changes that feel good, that we're looking forward to them. There's some changes that we didn't want them, and so we're feeling hard. And the other thing I wanted to mention is how um, what creator suffering, and according to the Buddha, and the beauty that I found in Buddhism that really drawn me in, is that it was about you experience it for yourself. You go out and test it yourself, and you, if it works for you, great, and if it doesn't, like toss it away, kind of a thing. And I have truly discovered that suffering is created when I am attaching to something, when I'm resisting something, and it's very tied to change, right? It's like when something changes and I didn't want it to change, I'm attaching to something, I'm going to experience suffering. When something is changing, so when something is not changing and I want it to change, I'm resisting that. I want to experience suffering. So the practice of just sitting with our own selves, it's so, like you always say, it's called insight practice for a reason. It allows us to have these insights into the laws of nature, which are changes happening. Change, it's inevitable, right? And that if we really look deep into that, every moment it's always changing, every moment it's new. And there's beauty on that at the same time. Um, yeah, I just wanted to share those reflections on how cultivating those things, even just us sitting here, we are cultivating resiliency to embrace bigger changes in life. These or changes is something that we're making reference to, but change is happening all the time. Some of you mentioned losing someone, right? The death of a loved one. I've experienced that. And I know that my dad's passing is what guided me into this journey. It flipped my world around in a way. And that was perhaps up until now the biggest change I've experienced, or if it's not the biggest, is the one that has impacted me the most. And it's change, right? It's like something changed, something new was born. But that's a big thing, but it happened in the micro level, on the big scale, and in the very, very tiny scale. Like, again, the moment that just happened, just died. It changed. This moment is fresh, it's a new moment. Um, so yeah, those are some thoughts that I wanted to share on the practice and how we're all doing this, and we can continue with our practice and continue these qualities to learn, not to learn. Maybe it is to learn, and at the same time, more than learn is to remember, because that's on, it is, according to the Buddha, it's our innate nature. It's within us. So it's not something that it's foreign to us. It's something that just needs to perhaps kind of be rediscovered, because it's there. That capacity for us to experience those things is there. So what are your thoughts, Brian, on
Oh,
change?
well, I just, again, my nervous system, my heart, it just feels so good. There's so much of what you said, the relationship to pain, when you said, you know, pain, I resist the pain, pain of grief, pain of anxiety, anxiety being what if, anxiety, the pain of physical pain. When I resist that, I sort of either bruised or broke my little toe, my pinky toe on my left foot, and it hurt like the dickens. But it also, people don't use that phrase enough, dickens. But what really took the pain from pain into suffering was I shouldn't have hit my foot on the side of the chair. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have a broken foot. Brian, it shouldn't be that way. The shouldn't. And then my pain went from pain to suffering. It was suffering. It burned, if, figuratively. And it's just nice to hear you talk about that, because that's what I was going through. And I couldn't see the difference between the pain and the suffering. My foot hurt, but what really burned inside me was I kept saying, I shouldn't have been running in the living room. And now I can't go take hikes. And now I'm not going to be able to dance at my wedding. I mean, like, I'm not engaged, by the way, but someday, maybe. So it was just nice to hear you say, like, the pain is the pain. And yeah, the Buddhists, thank goodness, the Buddhists say, like, boom, it's the first thing, right? There is pain in life. There is pain. It's coming. But the relationship to the pain times resistance equals suffering. So I really loved what you said. And the other thing you said, which really made me kind of like wake up. And by the way, tell me if, I know we'll have another maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll turn off the recording, open it up for community questions, reflections, inquiry. And at the end of this, you tell me if we need to take this off the recording. But I was reminded of vampires, Mariela, because okay, stay with me. In movies, see, I used to think that it would be great if things never changed. When I was young, summertime between school, elementary school, high school, summer was great, and I never wanted summer to change. I want it to be summer all year long. But then it ends in August or September, right? And I thought that if things could just stay the same forever, it would be awesome. But then I see movies, and I'm sure this is true in books with vampire characters. The vampires who they don't have change in their lives. They don't. They live forever. They uh they don't have an emotional kind of interior life often. Their emotions don't really change. It's usually quite kind of stagnant, but it's especially the thing that they never die. And the vampires are always suffering in movies, in TV shows. They're always suffering. That it never changes. Their life never changes for 500 years, 800 years, 1,000 years. And perhaps, oh, and also their relationship to other people is not like what we have here. Vampires are taking from people. There's not the reciprocal sharing. It's one-sided relationships they have with people. They're forced into that. I think I'm going to stop talking about vampires in a second, but that they that it never changes, and they are suffering so. And so even though I fear change and it's awful at times, there's people that I have right now in my life who I love that will die in the next 10 to 20 years, maybe sooner. And I think about it a lot and I'm really scared. And I'll die someday too. I'm not so scared about that. It's other people dying that really scares me. Um, but the alternative, the vampire life, is it's hell. It's portrayed often as hell, and I guess it makes sense because no change is awful. Um, what do you think about that vampire thing?
I don't know much about vampires, honestly. But yeah, I don't know. I cannot comment much on vampires, Brian. Sorry. I don't watch very movies in general, and not very definitely on vampires or read books on vampires. But, but it's I was just trying to look for a quote or a poem on change, but I couldn't find it. That I remember about change. But I was reading this thing as you were not, I pay attention to you, but I was
Oh
trying
no, I know.
again. And it said, you know, how everything from our emotions and our thoughts and feelings from the cells in our bodies and the plants around us is changing and decaying continuously. You know, it's like, even again, it is true, but I hadn't thought about that. Even the cells in our bodies are always changing. So change, it's like part of life. Decaying, it's part of life. Um, New beginnings is part of life. Yet we feel so much suffering when things change, when new things happen. And we might, depending on or our personalities or upbringings, we might embrace those things differently. But I think typically in life we see um, change. It's either this dichotomy between like it's horrible or it's great, and it's nowhere in between. You know, new beginnings is something very similar, and maybe this whole black and white thing of looking at life in that way miss we are missing everything that is in between, which is perhaps where it's more equanimous, more resiliency there, and not in these two worlds of change is great or change is horrible, or new beginnings are wonderful or new beginnings are like they suck. You know, it's like, and they're normal. We're allowed to experience those things, but can we cultivate not always going between these two extremes about life, but can we look in between those? You know, how can we not lean towards loving or hating something, but I was thinking of, and maybe we can do another session because I've been very, um, it's been very present in my practice, and I've been finding great sense of relieved in a way. Um, I've been thinking recently how perhaps our practice on mindfulness, and you know how it like can be Vipassana, but like we are kind of invited, and I hope I'm not saying something and it's gonna stay recorded and people are gonna judge me and call me and email me that what you're saying is wrong. But it is my limited understanding, disclaimer, that you know, in the Vipassana tradition and a lot of the teachers, we're kind of invited to go inward, to really focus on our experiences, on the felt sense, kind of like a microscope kind of thing, right? And later, not later, lately, I've been experiencing and exploring more this concept of not just zooming in, but also zooming out, but not zooming out, which I'm always so caught up in my microscopic. And so then I lose sight that there is a bigger perspective, but then not be too big because I can spiritually bypass things and say, oh, none of this is happening. This is like all kind of an illusion. And not be so trapped into my experience that is so microscopic. And I was thinking, like, perhaps this practice or not this practice or what I've been finding definitely great relief. It's a balance between like zooming in and zooming out, zooming in when it's needed, and the wisdom of knowing when it's to zoom out, and to zoom out meaning like resting in this field of awareness that is not just within us but is all around us. And it's this awareness that it's life, the source of life, whatever it is for each of us, whatever we think we come from, it's awareness, right? And so maybe this practice is, again, it's not just this extreme, liking or disliking, all in or all out. It's this balance between knowing how to like move towards something and away from something, and from a place of wisdom. And I'm sure that's something that we gets developed, as we move through life and our practice. And maybe not practice as like this is the only practice that allows you to do that, but just like any practice, contemplative practice that you do. But it's maybe this balance of, we don't need to go to those extremes, but maybe we can find the balance in knowing how to like go inward and outward, and holding all of it in a wider perspective. I don't know if I'm making sense. I hope.
No, it's no, well, I was also thinking when in the world of grief, as a grief therapist, there's this concept of it's like a pendulum. Our heart, our mind is like a pendulum. They call it the dual processing model. So it's like it's always changing. And one day the pendulum is swinging all the way to the other side. Grief, the past, loss, they're gone. I'll never touch them again. It's awful. And when I'm in that place, and again, I'm a grief therapist, but doesn't mean that I'm any different than anybody else. When I'm there, I want it to be different. I don't want sometimes it feels like I'm drowning, feels like I'm on fire, sometimes both. And I'm lucky that I have a few people in my life that when I'm in that place, I can talk to them or text them or Zoom or see them. And they remind me, just stay in the sadness, Brian. Stay there. Yeah, but do you think I should write her a letter? Do you think do you think, Brian, shut up. Stop talking. Stop thinking. Stop doing. Just be sad. And I do need that permission. I do. I do. I admit it. Sometimes I need somebody to say, Brian, just be sad. Just be sad. And after a few seconds, just to slow down. Something else I love about our group here, we can just slow down, doing one thing at a time. And it's only been in the last, I would say, 2 years where I've had, not every day, but occasionally I can just be sad, just sadness, just crying. I'm not doing anything else. I'm just crying. I'm not crying and texting. I'm just crying. And it feels good because the crying has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. And I'm not saying I'm healed, like I'm done, but it is healing. There's medicine in that. And likewise with anger, likewise with fear. And so and then some days where the pendulum is swinging to the other side of the room, I'm into today and tomorrow. We call that restoration oriented. And sometimes when I'm there, I'm thinking, oh shit, I haven't thought about her all day. Ooh, what a bad person I am for not thinking about her. I should be grieving. I should be mourning. I should be crying. And again, it's nice to have people. And you're one of these people for me, Mariela, when I talk to you. And sometimes I get into like, Mariela, shit, change, change, fucking change. Mariela, should I journal? Should I, should I light a candle? Brian, shut up. Stop thinking. Just be present. But it's hard. It's hard. Um, I think that's probably all I want to say here because, and maybe yeah, maybe I can pass it back over to you and any closing reflections because I've gotten a lot out of what you said today. I think I really need to hear it. I had my first cry last weekend. A week a week ago tomorrow, I had my first big cry for my friend who died in June, and I hadn't been able to cry for her, about her. I was using things to sort of numb out, TV, you know, edibles. I just, it was hard to be in the sadness. And I finally was able to cry. And it was, sobbing. And it felt so good. It felt so good to not resist the change from anger going into sadness. I let it happen. I let myself go into the sadness. And I was with people like you, like us here, where we don't police each other's emotions. We don't tell each other what to think, what to do, or what not to do, or what not to say. And I'm really grateful because it's like our motto here that we've been sharing and practicing is the opposite of suffering is not no suffering. The opposite of suffering is connection. And that we can help each other sometimes. Yeah, things are changing. Things are changing. It's okay. Stay with the sadness. Stay with the anger. Stay with the fear. Stay with the confusion. Yeah, but why? But should I? Yeah, I know. It's like the buts. And okay, yeah. Well, the buts are going to keep coming. Well, the buts are going to keep, but, whoops. It's like, let's just be. Let's just be and be together. So, vampires and butts, Mariella. Vampires and butts.
I think I said everything I wanted to say. I'm more curious about what um the community here has to any reflections, any questions or comments. So we can go to the community. Maybe we can stop recording first. So yes,
Wait, before I turn off the recording, are we going to edit out the vampire part?
you don't have to. I'm okay with it.
Woo! Woo! Okay, goodbye.